So I'm excited about our next performer. He is a local filmmaker, but I don't know, maybe we should even call him international by now. Give it up for Mr. Scott Simmons.
Your heart falls to the pit of your stomach and you think, crap, this could really be bad. That happened to me walking back to Victoria Falls from Livingston, Zambia. I retired early. I was 52. It was the summer of 2002, right before I met my wife, actually. And I was working part-time for Continental Airlines as a reservation agent so I could travel for free and have health insurance. I flew from Paris into Johannesburg and right away to Victoria Falls because I wanted to see Victoria Falls. My dad says he was conceived at Niagara Falls, and Falls had some appeal to me. I got there at 6 in the morning, right when the park opened. I looked for it, and what I had heard was you look for the smoke that thunders, the mist rising over the forest, and I had no problem finding that. When I saw the falls, I understood why the locals called it that. It was unbelievable. Even though Southern Africa was in a drought, a severe drought at the time, I'd never seen anything like that. The falls were over a mile wide. They're the largest in the world. They're almost as wide as San Miguel is high, if that makes any sense. It's 5,600 feet and 6,400 feet. Wandered around, looked every way I could at the falls, the different points, and then walked to the border of Zambia. Whenever I was traveling, I tried to see as many countries as I could. I had a crazy idea in the back of my mind that I wanted to go to every country in the world. It was still easy to travel as a reservation agent. I could tell when the planes were empty. That went away shortly thereafter. But I negotiated a taxi to Livingston, Zambia. I always use a Let's Go guidebook. In the Let's Go guidebook for South Africa, it talked about a day trip to Livingston, Zambia from Zimbabwe. And I thought that following in the footsteps of
Dr. Livingston, I presume.
Would be really neat. The guidebook I used said the 7 kilometers from Victoria Falls to Livingston, Zambia is very dangerous and should not be walked or biked. And I decided to take the advice. So I'm in the taxi, we're going to Livingston. I asked the driver, we negotiated over the fare, I got him down a little bit. I said, I'll pay you the full fare if you can find elephants. All I had seen so far were some Cape Buffalo as the airplane approached the airport in Victoria Falls. He stopped and talked to a couple taxi drivers as they're up ahead on the left. We pulled, a few minutes later, we're up ahead and we saw the elephants. There were about 15 of them, 75 feet off the road. He pulled over, I rolled down the window to take pictures. He said, oh, we can get closer. So we walked from here to the street to this herd of elephants, and I got behind a tree and took pictures, and we left and went on to Livingston. Livingston's a British colonial town. I walked around town, the one thing I remember the most is potholes. There were potholes in every street. I went into the Livingston Museum. It was average, but the guidebook also mentioned a railroad museum, and I really wanted to see that because in my travels I had at one time rode the last part of the Trans-Andean Railroad in Ecuador down to the end, sitting on top of a railroad car. So I wanted to see the Railroad Museum, but I couldn't find it. I did stumble across the Livingston Visitors Bureau, went in and asked for directions. The lady spoke perfect English, told me it wasn't far ahead on the right. And I said, is it safe to walk back to Victoria Falls? And she said, oh, yes. So I decided rather than haggle with the taxi driver over the fare, I'd walk back. It was only 7 kilometers. I stopped and got a couple bottles of water and started out of town. Looking back on it, I think she thought I was asking her if it was safe to walk to the Railroad Museum. So I'm walking out of town. Every once in a while, a truck or a taxi go by, and some of them would stop and ask if I needed help. I think it was because the big white guy walking to Zimbabwe was not a common sight. And it's starting to get hot. I'm thinking about what I know about heat exhaustion. I still had half a bottle of water left. I'm about halfway there, and I hear a rustling in the trees over on my right. And when we've been coming in, the elephants were on my left. So I'm looking for the elephants. I see them, and I start walking faster to get ahead of them because I want to get a picture of them coming towards me. And they were closer to the road this time, maybe just 50 feet. And I stepped closer to get a good picture, and the biggest elephant kind of went crazy and came around between me and the herd, started wagging her trunk and her ears and making kind of a low, rumbling, roaring sound. And I'm going, oh, yeah, heart's about here. And so I think this isn't very good. And I walked across the road. Was the road something about this wide? And I'm thinking, she's really not going to have to go very far to squash me. And I'm watching, she's still doing this, and thinking about all the things I had read about elephants. They're dangerous if they've been hit by a car. I knew the males didn't travel with the herd, so this was the matriarch. And they're dangerous if there are calves in the herd, and there were 3. And so I'm looking, and I turn around, and here's a fellow that just got off his bicycle. And before I could say anything, he goes, "She's coming!" And got on his bicycle and took off up the road to the hill where he'd come from. And I look around, now my heart's really in my stomach thinking, oh shit. But she was just wagging her, swinging her trunk, wagging her ears, same thing I'd seen before. Whew. So I walk up the hill to the fella, and he says, "Aren't you afraid of anything?" And I said, "I went until you screamed and rolled off on your bike." And he says, I don't like these elephants in Zambia. The ones in Zimbabwe are okay, but in Zambia, they eat this tree that makes them crazy. And I don't want to be killed by an elephant in Zambia. So I'm thinking, well, me either, but we made it past this. So he's going to go back to Victoria Falls and try to get to Livingston the next day when there aren't elephants in the road. And I said, I just walked by them. You just wait till a car comes by, and then you can ride. He said, oh, no, I don't want to be killed by an elephant in Zambia. So he takes off. I start walking back towards the Zimbabwe border. About 45 minutes later, I see the blue-green water of the Zambezi River that I'd seen when we first left Victoria Falls. And I'm almost there. Got to a clearing, and I thought, I'm going to walk down and stand on the banks of the Zambezi River. So I walk, through the clearing down towards the water, and there's a sign that says, in English, "Beware of crocodiles." Oh, wow, cool, crocodiles. I haven't seen any crocodiles yet. So I'm kind of looking around, I don't want to get too close to the crocodiles because they're probably as quick as the elephants. And a fellow rides by on a bicycle, and he sees me, and he stops, and he comes back, and he comes all the way down on his bicycle, gets off, he says, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." "You shouldn't be here." And I said, "I know, the elephants." He goes, "Oh no." I said, "The crocodiles." He goes, No, the thieves. You shouldn't be here, one person. You should be 2-3 persons. And now I'm getting a little worried. I made it by the elephants. I'm watching for the crocodiles, but I don't know what to do about thieves. And it became obvious this fellow wasn't going to leave till I walked back to the road. And he's riding towards Livingston. I'm walking back towards Victoria Falls. I think he thought I had come out from Victoria Falls, not walked all the way from Livingston. So I got into Victoria Falls. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon. I started out at 6 in the morning. I'm hot, tired, thirsty, and just like I walked by the Livingston Visitors Bureau, there's the Victoria Falls Explorers Club. So I went in, had a Zambezi beer, bought a t-shirt, the khaki one, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt with the Explorers Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott Simmons.
Don't belong here. You know it's true. You look all You don't know how to act or what to do. But you know sometimes I think I don't belong here too. And she said, it's like walking through fire. It's like shedding your skin. You throw your clothes out the window.